Our guest today is Vin. Vin has become a successful entrepreneur by always expecting the best from herself despite cerebral palsy. And she has achieved success as a coach for publishers, book authors, and podcasters. Vin, I'm so glad you are here with us in the show.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you, Sophia, for having me on. And yes, I have, even though I don't do coaching for book publishers slash authors, I do coaching for podcasters and book publishing and authors are just throwing in it just in case anyone wants it. But I have 3 podcasts, one of them being the artwork of CP, which is all about cerebral palsy, and the other one being the amazing voices of teachers, which is all about the education system here in America and across the country and across the world. And then the one that I'm most known for is Ask When, which is my interview show where I interview solo entrepreneurs and book authors and podcasters, and all to teach people with a disability how to live a fabulous life and obtain a job if they choose to do so.
Amazing. So thanks again for joining us today. And then let's start to talk a little bit more about your 3 podcasts. So you have the last one you mentioned is the Ask Win, where you interview solopreneurs. So maybe this is a little bit more interesting for my audience as well, as they are mostly entrepreneurs. How did this idea came to you?
Well, this idea came to me because I wrote a book. That book is now 10 years old, and it's called I, Win. I, WIN.
Which
Win
is your
is my
name too?
name, yes. So I just stuck an I in front of it. I win. And so I thought, great, here we go again. I pushed the publishing button. Now I thought, how in the world am I going to market this book? I didn't know half the stuff I do now about marketing a book, about pre-orders, about everything else. So I, at the time, was listening to a podcast all about book writing, and it's a podcast that still is in existence today called The Creative Pen by Joanna Penn out of the UK. She's one of the leading independent publishers in the UK, and she came out of banking to start her publishing industry. Actually, she got laid off in 2008, and she came out of banking in the IT industry to start her publishing industry. Well, anyway, she started this podcast, and at the time I was listening to it, trying to figure out how to publish my book. And then she said, well, you need to market the book. So I'm like, market the book? How do I do that? And it's like, okay. So then I tried YouTube. Well, my YouTube stardom didn't last very long because I tell you, a fan goes, I love you and I love your work, but I can't watch it while I'm working. So and then I tried a different podcasting system, Blog Talk Radio, which is a disaster and a half. And then little old me stumbles into a Facebook group meant for podcasting, asked, who is best podcast host. They gave me a name, and then I went and signed up for that podcast host and kicked off episode 1 back in 2010 with
10 years ago.
Joanna Penn, 10 years ago
So you
with
have been in
Joanna Penn.
so you have been in podcasting 10 years ago, since
Yes,
10 years ago.
yes, I have. And I have done over 13,000 episodes on my feed alone.
Awesome. So 3 podcasts, publishing a book, being a coach. I imagine it's a lot to do during a day. How do you yourself stay effective?
I get up at 5 a.m., if not even earlier, 5 a.m. in the US to accomplish everything I want to accomplish. Because let's not forget, oh, did I mention I have a neurological disability too, cerebral palsy. And so I have to manage that on top of everything else. So, because if that goes down, I go down, slash all my work goes down. And so, cerebral palsy is a neurological condition. It's lack of oxygen at birth, and I have to manage that. So I get up at 5 a.m. I start my day at 5 a.m., the latest 7:30 a.m. to manage me and manage my work and manage cerebral palsy.
That's a lot, and you are such a hero, especially for waking up so early. I never can make it so early. I'm really a night
Well,
person rather, but I guess it differs from people to people. So maybe if someone listening to us
I've
who is
always been a morning person. I've always been a morning person.
it's,
My body clock goes, okay, you're a morning person.
it's great because in the morning you can achieve so many things. By the time it's, I don't know, lunchtime, and you can already feel relief that so many
Yeah,
things are already done.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so for me, the idea of publishing a book, especially, is really something I consider as a big, big success. But what's your personal definition on success?
My personal definition of success is, if now it's changed because of COVID, if I can inspire someone to mask up and walk into work after hearing something I said, I'm done. My paycheck is done. And yes, and so that's my definition of success. My definition of success has always been put your heart and soul into it and try again and win. Just do it. And if you can't do it one way, try again another way.
Just get up, go, and do it. That's really
Yeah.
something that's so important and yet so simple. I love it. You mentioned it changed by the COVID. So how did COVID change your business, your everyday life?
Oh, come on. I lost my job. I lost
Oh,
my teaching job. And so, um, like a lot of other Americans, like a lot of other people worldwide, I lost my teaching job. And luckily I had my journalism to fall back on, because I was doing my journalism for 10 years part-time, and I I decided to, on March 9th, when I was flying home from a business trip, I was on the East Coast when stuff started shutting down. And I started crying in the middle of a flight, and I didn't know why. I thought, okay, you just came back from a fabulous business trip. You had the opportunity to meet all your fan base. You had the opportunity and the help to fly down there. Why? Why are you so upset? Well, by the time I got to Chicago International Airport, I figured out why. Because my life, my social butterfly life, was coming to a halt, literally, and I was coming home to no job. So since March, I have been in journalism. I'm also pursuing a journalism degree in journalism slash mass communications, and I love every minute of it.
Journalism. That always has been a little bit of dream of myself as well. Never pursued it actually, but it's just so inspiring to research and find a story and talk about it. What is your favorite story you have covered so far?
My favorite story out of the independent work I've done is I like all my stories, so it's really hard to pick. But I interviewed a man yesterday that his name is Leon, and Leon Tillman does Walking in Victory, and he's amazing. His podcast is amazing. He's a preacher, a yoga teacher slash podcaster, and I he and I just inspire each other. And I've done several other interviews that are all my favorites, because when you ask a podcaster that, or when you ask a journalism student that, they it's like picking your favorite child in a sense. What is your favorite podcast interview? I don't like to pick my favorite child in a sense, and podcasting is my baby, and I won't give it up, and I can't give it up until the day I can't do it anymore, because um, without my voice in the ecosystem, no one would understand about cerebral palsy.
You shouldn't give up, definitely, and your message is so important. I checked out your podcast, so it helps for so many people, that it's very important to keep it as it is and keep it rolling, like the show must go on. So I will certainly include your links in my show links, so the listeners can check it out and also see. And for anyone who needs Win help, they can always ask you and contact you, because I will also leave your contact details below in the show notes as well. Vin, you
Right.
work a lot, you meet a lot of interesting people through podcast and journalism, but how do you recharge your batteries? How do you spend your free time when you can be, just out and not working?
Free time and out and not working. Well, I don't go out anymore. That doesn't happen because of COVID. So
Yes, sure. I mean, when you go out from your office place and not
yeah,
working.
when I go out to my office space, which is up my stairs, because my house is open floor plan, and so the only the only outside my office space I have is up a flight of stairs. And so when I go up those stairs, I try and turn off by listening to music or listening to us a podcast.
Music and still podcast, even in your free time.
Music and still podcast, yes. Music
You
and
really can't
the
stop
podcast,
working, Vin.
because I know I try and educate myself about the industry and what's new in the industry. And then I also try and connect with my fan base. So I am a solo entrepreneur through and through. I mean, I listen to podcasts for pleasure too. You always have to study your craft. You
That's true.
can't necessarily start a podcast and then say I'm not going to study my class.
Yes, study and self-teaching is so important as a solopreneur, because nobody would teach you what you need to run your business unless you go out one step further and reach for inspiring podcasts, let's say, that can help you. I can so much relate on this. Vin, maybe people are listening to us who are dreaming to become a solopreneur like you. What would be your number one tip for them?
Since a lot of people lost their jobs during COVID and a lot of people have gained new jobs, if you're not happy in your job, I would say run the other direction, do something you're passionate about, even if it's a side gig for right now, and just do something you're passionate about just to make things work. But I would say run the other direction. I was very unhappy with the education system, me as a teacher, because, and I have spoken to several teachers here in the US about this, and because the paycheck is very, very low, teachers put in a heck of a lot of work, and the result they get is more work. So I was blessed enough to leave the education field, start my own company as a full-time content creator. And if I need to go back into the W-2 work field, I am not touching education again to save my life. I am going towards something more creative, something more journalistic.
Mm-hmm. So something you are passionate about, and that's the number one tip for
Journalism.
others as well.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us. I so much appreciate you joined us, and I wish you a nice day ahead.
Thank you.
And for all of our listeners, don't forget, stop firefighting, be the creator of your company.